And James is having pizza again and some watermelon. I'm gonna review Vincent Price. That's those three movies, and then those ones underneath. And we might talk about Cosmos a little bit. James is probably going to talk about versions and verses and versions by.
Yeah, very good. You remembered it. By Vladimir Nabokov.
Yeah. And first, I'm going to read a little poem. And the title for this poem, Hell's Bells, was inspired by something from Cosmos, because we were watching Cosmos recently, and it was about episode about Halley's Comet, which he was calling Halley's Comet, which I don't think anybody calls it that. But
I think it's Halley's, even though it's spelled Halley's.
Yeah. So anyway, whatever. But Guy said Hell's Bells a couple times in that, and I guess
in the cartoon.
Yeah, in the cartoon.
Be Halley.
Or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, I wrote this today, which I believe is August 8th, 2024. And again, it's called Hell's Bells. We need to buy a new used car, much like the last one that we had. That Magnum sure did take us far, but now it's stopped, and that's too bad. Those tinted windows in the back and fold-down seats there made our bed. It was a home that we could pack around with us. Why tent instead? They've discontinued Magnums now, and other brands of wagons too. What type of auto will allow us room for sleeping as we do? Though SUVs are huge, they're small for sleeping, and they're sure not cheap. Though vans have room, they're far too tall, and so they're expensive beasts to keep. One auto has the room in back, so James and I could stretch right out. This auto is designed to pack its human passengers about while in the back and laying flat. This auto has just seats for two. We might get looks when parking at a trailhead or when shopping too, when putting groceries in the back. A flaming custom paint job would turn heads, but would it show a lack of taste? It really would look good, especially if the thing was black, which most of them would likely be. Do they have windows in the back? No, no one back there needs to see. We'd get a special license plate to name it and to make it ours. Neil Young's was fine. Ours will be great. Hearse are the perfect sleeping cars.
Yeah, he had a hearse. Called it Mort. As in mortician, I presume.
Wow, I was thinking Hell's Bells. Make it ours.
Yeah.
That's why I called it that.
Yep.
And anyway, I thought it'd be great. Flames along the side.
I know.
Perfect.
Yep.
But I don't know if other people would think it was perfect.
I don't know. People are funny. You know, if they thought you were
really
weak,
offended.
they'd try to maybe do damage to you.
Yeah, and with the
If
Hell's
they
Bells
thought you
license
were
plate, I
strong,
don't know.
they'd give you extra room.
Yeah.
Strong as in the Hell's Angels.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned this before. I remember one time I had big sunglasses. I was wearing them after getting surgery for my eyes, cataract surgery. And for some reason or another, I'd grown a beard. I just let it grow. It wasn't as though I'd wanted to. I don't like beards on others, and especially on myself. But I was walking from the library, came to a pedestrian crossing, going across. I was just started, and someone they were making a right turn, I think. They got into the intersection, which they shouldn't have done. And they saw me coming along, and they backed right out of the intersection. They must have thought I looked like a biker or something like that. You can see them, they kind of hands off the wheel. And I was going, wow, that's the kind of respect you get when you're a biker.
So we'll see what James thinks of this pizza. This time, you may have noticed I still put that same kind of spread that I've been using, which I got for 44 cents from Salvation Army, on top. That the one that has peppers and eggplants and stuff like that in it. Anyway, but this time I put some cottage cheese on there because we have cottage cheese. So we're giving cottage cheese for free from the food truck quite often. And so I thought, why not? So here it is. Pizza with cottage cheese. It may not be as good as with feta cheese, I expect.
Oh, it'll
but
be
we'll
great.
see.
It'll be great.
So,
It's amazing what you can do when you kind of or what Pauline can do, maybe not so much me or other people can do with alternative ingredients for pizzas and for other things.
Yeah, I'm always trying new
You
things.
got to think about what's going to be compatible, right?
So, Vincent Price. Now, of these 3 movies, I have a hard time choosing which one I like the most.
So
I
there's
think I
3
liked House on
one-
Haunted Hill.
One DVD or something.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was a good time. I liked watching all of them. I was up a lot of the night watching Vincent Price movies.
And you didn't intend to. You just
Didn't
kept on
intend-
watching.
I just kept enjoying them, so, we'll watch another one. So I'm a little bit tired. We got a lot of walking done. We went out and looked at a car. We walked out to look at a car, and it was a pretty fancy car. It
For
was,
our taste.
For our taste. It was a second-hand car at a dealership, and
Or as they say, pre-owned.
yes. So anyway, and this one was very much pre-owned. It was, you could tell that the people must have had children in the back, and they'd
Mucked a few things up, but
yeah, they had.
it
but
wasn't that bad.
we wouldn't care. So it wouldn't affect us at all, because I mean, for us, like I said in my poem, it would be a 2-seater, because the reason that we get these kind of station wagon type vehicles is so that we can sleep in the back. So that's our Winnebago. We'll go wherever. So the stuff that they've munched up in the back, well, we don't care. We won't ever, we're going to be sleeping back there, whatever.
We're like dogs back there.
Yeah, the dogs won't care. So anyway, black and white, very much worth watching. I gave it top of the stack. It deserved
All
it.
3 are black and white.
Yeah, I loved it.
So very much worth watching.
Yeah.
House on Haunted Hill. That's
I
supposed
loved
to be one of the classics.
Yeah,
isn't
it
it?
was a good one. So, like I was saying, Vincent Price as a straight guy, I don't think it's really believable. I don't believe that he could have possibly been a straight guy, but I still love seeing him in these movies. So, whatever. The Quiet Girl. This one won some award or something. Where did I read that? Academy Award nominee. Okay, so it was a nominee. And it's set in rural Ireland. There's subtitles, and even when the people are speaking English, honestly, they do need subtitles. I oftentimes I would say, oh, that's so rude that they put subtitles when various people are speaking English and whatever. But no, it's hard to understand sometimes. So subtitles.
Needed in Jamaican movies.
Whatever.
Irish,
Yeah,
Scottish
I know.
probably would help too.
Yeah, that's the first time when I thought, how rude that they put subtitles, but it was Jamaican. But after a while, if you were to turn those subtitles off, well, it'd be a very different movie watching experience.
I understand
So-
I'm part Scottish and part Irish.
So, anyway, the same kind of people, I was looking at the stack and it's like, this is all everything that I pulled out here, this is very different audience, I can't imagine. But here I am, I just borrow whatever people put on the return shelf for the most part from the library, and it could be very different people putting these things on the return shelf, and I end up with them. So, anyway, this was a great movie. It's just not as much my kind of movie. It's drama, whatever, and it's not as much my sort of thing. The Vincent Price, that stuff's timeless. Anyone could watch that whenever, so it just doesn't rate as high. So, this one is from the producers of Evil Dead and Barbarian. I've never seen Barbarian, I don't think. But this was called Boy Kills World. And I was watching this, and this is very entertaining.
It's kind of supposed to be funny along with everything else.
Yeah, I guess James had overheard it. It was quite funny, but there's a lot of gore, and it doesn't bother me or anything. It was still funny and whatever, but honestly, I'm left with. I mean, there's a few twists and stuff in it, and in the end, I'm going, okay, but what message am I supposed to get with this movie? This is just you can't possibly have a positive message, an outcome either way. You know, whatever would have happened, it wouldn't have been positive. This is just such a terrible place that they're living in, that even in the end, they're, you know, is there an escape in this place? Is there possibly? There's not. You know, it's nothing good can happen. So
is it based on a video game? Because it just seemed like it could go on forever, like a video game.
Well, this is just anyway. The video game thing does have something to do with it, but it's not. No, it's not based on a video game. It's just when the boy in this, when he's flashing back to when they were young or whatever, he and his sister used to play video games together. That's it. So anyway, so he has a lot of memories of that sort of thing, but he doesn't have. His memories are not correct. And a lot of things in his life he's not.
He's
anyway.
imagined?
Yes.
Okay.
So, but I mean, the real world is just as crazy as his imagination. It's a very bad place that he's living in. And anyway. It's entertaining, and I think maybe this one might be young adult male would be most interested in watching this one, whereas this one would be maybe 50-year-old woman, and this one, I don't know. What would you say? It could be anyone, right? This one
kind of interesting history or artsy stuff.
But definitely the same person who watched this one would not want to watch this one typically. But this is how it ends up in my stack, so whatever. Marjorie Prime. Now this one, although it was certainly more believable than Boy Kills World, you could see how this is a possible future where you have AI comfort people. And not comfort people in the way you're thinking. These are people, they're not, they're just projections. So they're not even, they're
not material.
They're basically, I don't know how it works. They don't explain that. It's just something, you know, so say if I were to die, then James would get this AI me. He would imagine this AI version of me, and he could imagine me when he first met me, or however he wants to picture me, however, whatever, or me the last time he saw me, or whatever. It could be whatever. He just has this AI me that what he sees as me. So, and then everybody else will see that me as me, that way, and the way he sees. Anyway, so, and the more that James talks to the AI me, the more she becomes me, because she gets to understand how they interacted and whatever, right? And so, yeah. And the end of this movie, it's like, okay, well, so you have these AI people, I suppose, that are just hanging out and living their lives, and I mean, it doesn't really make sense. So what Because you would think that something would happen with the house or whatever, or maybe the people who own the house are like, well, they are them now. We can't do anything about it because we don't want to take this away from them or whatever. I don't know. I don't really understand the ending so much, and I just really didn't see a point. When it ended up, I'm like, okay, I've been sitting here for a while and I can see how this would be possible, but I just don't really care. So that's what it ended up being. So now I don't know if James is going to talk about the Halley's Comet stuff and all that, or if he's going to go with Russian poetry. So let's see what he has to say.
Pizza's good. I'm going to finish up this piece.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit more about Cosmos while I'm doing it?
Oh, okay. I can tell you about Cosmos. So, the episode that I think James might be talking about is the Halley's Comet thing, and with Isaac Newton and whatever. And one thing that Neil deGrasse Tyson was saying in this was, I think he repeated it a few times, that, oh, you don't have to worry about comets, you know, you don't have to be scared of Halley's Comet coming back. He said Halley's, but Comet coming back and whatever, it just whips around and here it is, you know, and shows up and whatever. But what James was saying, I may have gotten this wrong, but James will clear it up when he's done eating, is Halley's Comet doesn't come around exactly like clockwork. It comes around approximately like within a year of, is that right?
Yeah.
Within a year?
That's what they say, 75 or 76 years. But if you look back and see earlier occurrences, it became at slightly bigger intervals than it does now. And it looks as though it's influenced by the bigger planets as Halley's Comet is coming in. And if it gets too close to, let's say, Jupiter, it could get thrown into Earth's orbit. Even if it doesn't, it could come and cross Earth's orbit when the Earth's there. I'm telling you, something came out of Capricorn. Well, what used to be called Capricorn, we've the scientific world delineated the differences, the distinctions, the borders between constellations. 1930, that's not 1930 BC, that's 1930 AD. My dad, who died a couple of years ago, almost the day, he was 7 years old when that happened. So that was in his lifetime. I was only born 24 years after that. Am I an old geezer? I'm getting there. Well, I'm only 70. So, if we look at the way Capricorn is set out now, it's too small, especially to be on the zodiac. You want the things to be roughly, the signs in the zodiac to be roughly the same, take up the same.
So equidistant?
Equidistant, or whatever. Yeah, exactly right. Well, equidistant means far apart, but to have the same length along the line that forms the zodiac. But it's too short. Right next to it is Aquarius, and it's just too long. Like even before they set up the boundaries officially in 1930, I read there was a book put out about 1895 or something like that. I was reading it online, and it was saying Aquarius too long, Capricorn too short. They're right next to each other. The perfect solution to those two problems is something that solves both problems. Give Capricorn a little bit of the length of Aquarius. The important thing is we've got reports, one of them historical, that indicate roughly 2000 BC. The dating systems on everything aside from Mesopotamia, which is pretty good, it's only off by 100 of you, are off. Especially the one from Egypt, but even more so the traditional dating, not the conventional dating for the Indian history or legend or whatever. Excuse me. The Chinese tradition from back then indicates that it's called the Legend of the 10 Sons. How many plagues were there? Oh, 10. The things happen at the same time. It's around the world. And it's actually Eta Aquarius. But my suspicion is Aquarius. For the other traditions was where we place was what's called Capricorn. Eta Aquarius. Kind of in the middle of Aquarius. Eta Aquarius. What's significant about it? It's associated with a meteor shower. You got that straight? Meteor shower. And astronomers get a lot of things wrong, but this one thing I think they get relatively right. They associate meteor showers with comets. Now, most of the meteor showers, they can't correlate with comets. The meteor shower that comes out of it comes from the radiant. It looks as though it's coming from this perspective, coming from a particular point in the night sky. The meteor shower that has this radiant Eta Aquarius has been associated by some astronomers tentatively with Halley's Comet. Yeah, something. A comet hit the world 4,000 years ago, a little less, maybe 1866 BC. Oh, thank you. I didn't want to be licking my fingers and thumb. I did a little bit of it on camera. Anyway, 1866 BC could have been Halley's Comet. It really thumped the world from the traditions that putting together different traditions. It looks as though it divided up under the Earth's gravitational field, or maybe it divided up going through the Jupiter's gravitational field into roughly 10 different pieces, hence the legend of 10 sons in the Chinese tradition. The 10 plagues in the Jewish tradition, Hebrew tradition. The several plagues that are enumerated in the lamentation over Ur, the fall of the Ur III dynasty. That's basically a historical record again. Yeah. And they all involve, except for China, Capricorn. In China, it's bordering right on Capricorn, Eta Aquarius. And yeah, the accounts aren't very pleasant. It's not just the biblical account of what happened to Old Testament account in Jewish scripture, whatever you want to call it. It didn't just happen. The plagues just didn't hit Egypt. What thumped Sumer was stunning, absolutely stunning, because there is a flood mentioned there. Not the flood mentioned in the Epic of Gilgamesh. It's a different one. Much later. It occurs at the end of the Ur III dynasty. That's the third dynasty of Ur. There's already been 2 dynasties of Ur, plus the third one, all the way through it. It ends it. Dynasties of Kish. Other dynasties. An Elamite dynasty. It's well into historical times. That's actual history. So yeah, a comet thumped the world. We've got reports from 3 different continents and 6 different traditions. One of them historical, recording what looks very much like not one cometary impact, but 10 or so. So from one end of Asia to the other, China, all the way to Southwest Asia, the northwestern part of Africa, Egypt, and the eastern part, southeastern part of Europe, Greece. So when you get in Cosmos, Neil deGrasse Tyson, I suspect the particular episode was written by Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan was a witch hunter of Velikovsky, who revived the idea of, well, he might have semi-originated it in modern times, of a comet thumping the world at the time of Exodus, thumping the whole world. And I don't think Velikovsky imagined that the comet had divided up into several different parts. The fact is, he figured the comet was Venus, and kind of gone wild, and eventually it had been kind of like domesticated. It's just wrong. Got that all wrong. All wrong. I won't say all wrong, because there are all sorts of reports around the world of the Morning Star going crazy. Morning Star, I think this is from the Amazon basin, peed on the people. And the pee burned. What's that about? The thing that Velikovsky should have warned him is it's always Morning Star, not Evening Star. It actually was a comet in the morning sky. The thing that told me what he got wrong was when I was reading an astronomical text. And the guy saying, Mercury's a morning star. And I'm going, yes, it is. Venus isn't the morning star. It's one of the two morning stars. But if you get something big, thumping comet close to the Earth, it's going to make those things maybe look like pikers, especially Mercury. So this big comet, possibly Halley's Comet in a much larger form than it is now, got into the morning sky. Sky. You can read it in the biblical account. It's obviously in the morning. It rises before the sun. There's at the Sea of Passage. It rises before the sun. It's a morning star. It rises before the sun. That's the thing. And I'm not depending on the biblical account. I'm depending on all the accounts. The Mesopotamian account, the Indian account, the Chinese account, the Greek account, the Egyptian account. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did I leave one out? India? No, that's 6 of them. Just
do you
like
think you could do the Nabokov in a minute?
In a minute, I'll mention it.
Okay.
So just have a look at this. I'll be dealing with it in greater detail. Nabokov has translations of some of the classical Russian poetry, Pushkin more than anything else. And he's really kind of like boastful about how well he does, and he doesn't. He has inversion, and he uses archaic English things. So he's saying, in order to do proper translation, you have to know the original language, plus you have to know the target language, the language it's being translated into. He wrote good prose in both, but boy, oh boy, that's not good enough when you're translating poetry. You cannot invert. No, you've got to change it. You have to change the original if you're going to do something like verse in English or any other language.